Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. Did you know that on jamesmillerlifeology.com, you can enroll in the academy I created for listeners just like you? I've created courses you may take at your own pace, which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Enroll in one of the classes today. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you find daily inspiration. I'll also be interviewing Dr. Gatmon, who teaches you how to merge your spirituality with the material world. She also reviews her book, Living a Spiritual Life in a Material World, 4 Keys to Fulfillment and Balance. For more information on Dr. Gatmon and to purchase her book, please visit annagatmon.com/DBP. That stands for Dream Big Playbook. You may also purchase her books on Amazon or in the previous guest section in both stores at jamesmillerlifeology.com or at lifeology.tv. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Are you struggling today to find your purpose? Has mediocrity set in and you can't imagine doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Are your relationships struggling or you aren't sure how to make long-lasting changes in your life? Then today, contact me, James Miller. I will help you recognize the areas in your life that are going really well, and then we'll look at the areas in which you are struggling. We will create actionable solutions to help you create long-lasting changes in your life. You don't have to do this alone. Go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page, Work with James. Fill out the form, and it will be sent directly to me. Don't let another day go by without finding your way. Your change can start today. Once again, go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page, Work with James. Fill out that form to get started today. Daily inspiration. Have you ever said there's got to be more to life, or I cannot imagine myself doing this again? Those words or those thoughts are really a form of mediocrity. Anytime we continually do something over and over again the same way, and we don't grow and develop, unfortunately, it is a form of mediocrity. Now, you are not mediocre, but your behaviors or perhaps your mentality is a form of mediocrity should you not continually grow and develop. Do you remember when you were a kid, you were so excited about certain things? Perhaps it was your toys or a hobby or a certain type of interest. That inspired you. You were so excited that you could not wait to do it. When you think of your life today, do you still have that same inspiration or that same passion about certain things? And of course, there's no judgment whatsoever because we often have blind spots and don't realize that perhaps we've fallen into a rut or we're so focused on certain things that we forgot to dream, that we forgot to be inspired. We have heard of so many famous artists or even musicians who were inspired by many things. That can be inspired by beauty, inspired by nature, inspired by religion, inspired by many different types of things. And when we see their artwork or hear their music, we're blown away because we too feel inspired. You and I are no different than those people. We have that same ability to become inspired, to inspire the people around us. The skill set that we have may be different, but the ability to inspire is still the same. My challenge for you today is to look around you. If you're able to recreate those same hobbies that you had as a child, or recreate that interest or that excitement about something, then that is a great start to become inspired. Yes, we all have daily responsibilities, but it doesn't mean that you can't be inspired to do something different, to do something that brings you joy and inspiration. However you were inspired in the past, try and do that again. Now, if that does not work, then ask your friends, what inspires you? How do you find that tenacity or that joy or that reverie to be able to do different things? What sustains you? As you continually seek for daily inspiration, you'll find it. Look around you. From a beautiful sunrise or sunset, to the laughter of a baby, to the beauty of nature overall. All of those elements are perfection, our beauty, our joy. Think of it this way. Inspiration is the antithesis of mediocrity. Mediocrity wants us to stay in the same mindset, to do the same things over and over and over again. But inspiration is change, it's development, it's growth. And when we become inspired, we want to do new things. We want to change, we want to grow. We want to break out of mediocrity and do something more expansive, more deliberate. So keep in mind, if you're struggling with this lesson, it's probably because you forgot what it feels like to be inspired. But remember, if you've forgotten something, you can remember it again. As you continually look for daily inspiration, you'll start to find that you have excitement about life. You'll have excitement about your work. excitement about your family, about your partner, about many things. Inspiration is the foundation for all self-development. Look for it today, and the harder you look for something, the more easily you will find it. A quick example of one of the courses you'll find in the Academy entitled Spirit, Mind, Body, The Perfect Triad. This non-religious course helps you understand how your intuition, or rather your gut, your logic, and your body all work together to help you overcome any obstacle you may face. Enroll in the class today. My guest today is Dr. Anna Gatmon. Anna comes from an eclectic background that spans the US, Israel, Sweden, and France. Her rich life experience includes careers as a fashion model, founder of an alternative elementary school, counselor, speaker, and author. She is a creator of the Expansive Community, a membership for changemakers who are committed to creating spiritual material abundance in all areas of their life and in the lives of the people they live, work, and play with. Welcome to my show, Dr. Gatmon.
Hello, James. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this. You and I were talking in the virtual green room, and this has been a long time coming, so I'm definitely looking forward to talking with you today.
Yeah.
Now, from where are you calling?
I'm calling from Northern California. I'm in Sonoma County, an hour north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, very good. Okay, very nice. I haven't been over there in quite a while, but I'm actually planning a trip for that, so that will be pretty interesting. Now, where are you originally from? Because I hear a slight accent.
Yes. So I was born and raised in Israel to an Israeli-Polish father and a Swedish mother. I was born, raised in Israel. I've lived in Paris for 10 years, in Sweden for a few years, in the US. So it's kind of a mixture of accents.
Yes, I love it. That's great. Now, so Dr. Gatmon, and what did you get your PhD?
In education and spirituality. So yeah, the degree specifically is called transformative learning, and it's how to create conditions for deep transformational learning in individuals and in groups. And I specifically did my dissertation on the spiritual aspect of adult learning.
That's really interesting. I've actually never heard of that degree. So, well, you were the first person in my show who's done that. So this is wonderful. I can't wait to talk more about that. How did you realize that you could merge the spiritual part of one's life, but also the materialistic or the everyday life things that we encounter? How did you learn that that's a gift you have, an affinity to merge those things together?
Yeah, so that brings us to my personal story, if I can share it with you. So I lived in Paris for a decade and worked as a fashion model and an international fashion model, and worked with the biggest designers, Yves Saint Laurent, Jean-Paul Gaultier, who did Madonna's outfits, and so runway shows, print with Elle, Marie Claire, just had a very materially gratifying life.
Sure, yes.
Which
sounds like
anyone who fantasizes about Paris can imagine.
Yes, Paris is an amazing place. Yes, it is.
But I'm very mission driven. So something was missing the entire time. I wasn't pleased. I wasn't happy. So I ended up moving. Exactly. So I ended up moving to the US to go back to school. And at the same time, I met my current spouse for 30 years and raised a family. And so here I was, I got a degree in transformative learning in education and spirituality. So you would think, I was emotionally fulfilled. I was intellectually stimulated. I was raising a family. So I was spiritually fulfilled. You'd think I'd be happy.
One would think, sure.
But I still wasn't. And what happened was that I had picked up along my spiritual journey a very common belief that in order to be truly spiritual, you need to live a humble life with no material desires, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
Many people are. And but I had also lived in Paris for 10 years, and I had learned the magnificence of the art of craft. To make bread, the dedication, the love, the ingenuity, the care that goes into creating a fresh baguette or a cake or fashion or architecture or gardening or art. France is the land of art.
Artisans, yes.
Artisans, right? And so I was having experiences, what I would call today spiritual experiences. I didn't call them that at that time. Elation, transcendence, inspiration, But those were all material expressions. So therefore, I wasn't spiritual enough because I was still enjoying other people's creations and I was enjoying material things. And so I had this split in me between, okay, my iPhone has no spiritual value yes. and compassion has no material value. It's just a spiritual experience. And there I was stuck between the worlds.
Mm-hmm. And that's difficult. And I think many people, and we're definitely going to jump into that in a second, but I think many people really struggle with that because they don't know how to merge the two, or they feel shame or they feel guilt that they shouldn't experience or want some of these materialistic things because it's not really wedded with their spiritual beliefs.
Exactly, because it's so much, the spiritual teachings are valuing the spiritual over the material. Mm-hmm. The material is here today, gone tomorrow, has no value. Yes. Now, last time when you looked into a rose, did you say, here today, gone tomorrow, I don't give a damn about it. You actually yes. look into the rose and it creates bliss in your mm-hmm. heart. It opens you. And so, but anything that's human created, that's bad. That's awful, right?
Interesting correlation, sure.
Yeah. And so here I was stuck. And, I think I can say today that I was given these extreme situations of a very gratifying material life in Paris and then a very rich spiritual life when I left Paris. And to see, okay, how do you live within those extremes? And the answer, the aha moment came when I was visiting a friend in the English countryside, and we all know that the English countryside is magnificent.
Yes, it is.
And I was lying in bed. I just woken up. I raised my head and I looked out a big window and looked out onto rolling hills. And I was just in awe of the beauty that lay before me. I felt gratitude. I felt awe. I felt expansiveness. It was just a very special moment. And at that moment, I had what you'd call a download or an insight, an aha moment. I looked out and I said, nature is in unity and perfect balance between its spiritual expression and material expression.
Yes.
Okay, so just to explain it for your listeners, so the trunk, the trees, the colors, the light green, the dark green, these are the material expressions of nature.
Tangible expressions of it, yes.
Exactly. But it also connecting us to expansiveness, to mm-hmm. inner peace, to grandeur, to patience. And today there's research coming out of Stanford, how powerful nature is
yes.
in creating well-being for us and yes. health for us, right? There's even research that if you heal after an operation with a window that has a tree outside, you'll heal faster than if you just have a wall.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So there's really is a lot of research to prove it. So it's not just like the mystical perspective,
yeah.
It's the scientific perspective, right? And so if nature is in this perfect unity and balance between spirit and matter, and we're an expression of nature, we're also on this planet, mm-hmm. nature, then we also have a spiritual essence and a material expression, and they're just in unity. And so that from then on, I got into everything that we're going to talk about. But this was my aha moment of, okay, we have a spiritual essence and we have a material capacity to express it materially. And that is a sacred unity.
Yes.
And let's start from that point yes. rather than valuing one over the other.
Because in doing that, that's obviously going to create a disconnect because, as we know, we're a form of a spirit, mind, and body. So all of those components, if you're only focused on one aspect of that and not the other two, then you're not living a full life. And so that is one thing that I think sometimes in spirituality or religion per se, it can put all these rules on people that very few people have ever been able to attain all of them at the same time.
Exactly. If I can just quote Andrew Harvey, who is a mystic and scholar, he says we're so addicted to either materialism or transcending material reality that we don't see God right in front of us in yes. everything and everyone. So that's beautiful.
That really is. When you started your dissertation, there's quite a few statistics that I saw that were pretty interesting when it comes down to let's say the millennial generation, some of the things that they believe as far as that's different from perhaps their forefathers. And we're seeing a shift to spirituality as opposed to organized religion in a lot of ways. And so it sounds like that is what new generations are looking more for, is for the understanding of how spirituality makes sense for them as opposed to some of the organized components from perhaps our parents.
Yeah, it's a term, SBNR, which is spiritual but not religious.
Okay.
And the millennials, they're all looking for meaning and purpose, which is another way of speaking of an aspect of spirituality. They're looking for something more noble and more valuable and meaningful. But they're not looking for the rigorous discipline of how to live your life, supposedly to get there.
Sure.
And I think that that's the difference between spirituality and religion, where spirituality is your subjective experience of the sacred and the divine.
Yes.
And religion promises you that, but in order to get there, they tell you need to live a very rigorous life in a certain way.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're not going to get there.
Sure. Lots of rules and lots of... And for some people, that works really well. And so there's a parameter aspect of it. But for this particular show, there's many people who don't do well with organized religions.
So can I just say, just to the point that you just made, I think that everything is a doorway. There's this very famous quote that says, "The map is not the territory."
Mm-hmm.
And the map is not the territory means is that whatever your doorway is to the actual direct experience of the transcendent, that's wonderful. And if you find it in religion, that's good. And if you find it in your own spiritual practice, that's good. But just remember that the map that you use in order to get into the territory is not the territory.
Yes. It's a portal.
Exactly.
Yes. I like that. That's beautiful. I thank you for clarifying that as well. Why don't we jump into the 4 keys to your spiritual material balance now? This is really interesting.
Yes. So I discovered these universal principles as I was beginning to study my own experiences, and then the experiences of others. And I discovered that the underlying pattern or the underlying quality of all spiritual experiences, whether we're aware of it really in the moment or not, it has an expansive quality. And so in my book, I go into details of how you experience it in your body. How are the sensations of expansiveness, and what are expansive emotions, and what are expansive thoughts. But it has this underlying quality of expansiveness. And luminaries, sages, saints reside in this expansive state.
It's a mindful spiritual awakening essence of everything is embodiment of that transcendence. In other words, everything is an embodiment of the divine. And so when you can be aware of that and live in that, which connects your spirit, mind, and body all together, you're able to fully transcend, if you will, to understand much more than perhaps people who don't focus on that expansive presence.
Yeah. And so that was the first realization I had in my research is that all spiritual experiences has this underlying quality of expansiveness. The second thing I realized that once you enter this more expansive state, mindful state, you become aware of information that was not available for you a second ago when you were not in this more mindful, expansive state.
Sure.
And so that's and that knowing is more intuitive and holistic than kind of rational deductive thinking. So from that, I built these 4, or I developed or coined these 4 universal principles, what I call the 4 keys to spiritual material balance. And the first one is expansive presence. And that is connecting with a more enlightened version of yourself, a more expansive version of yourself. And again, in the book, there's a chapter on it, and I explain how through very simple means, through your breath and through words and through images and through your calling, you can access it within minutes.
Yes, you can.
Then the second key, once you are in this expansive presence, is attentive listening. And that's more of it's not an active process, but more a laid back process of attentive listening to intuitive guidance, which can appear either as inner knowing, gut feeling, inner prompting is how we talk about it, or it can happen as an external event, an external synchronistic event, or what we might experience as a miracle, or a book that just showed up in our life just when we needed it. So the second key is attentive listening, where you access inner wisdom. Okay. And then once you've access this inner wisdom, what you're going to do with it? Well, the third key is inspired action. So that's to move forward on the guidance, the external guidance or the internal guidance, and but to do it with inspiration, right? So it's not just a to-do list, but it's coming from that expansive state of inspiration. You're acting upon what you listened attentively and the wisdom that you received. So that's really the key for manifesting your dreams, your goals, your purpose.
Well, the word inspire means breath of the divine. And so in that, it's interesting that you obviously correlate that. I mean, it makes sense. The inspired action, the breath of the divine action, which helps the manifestation, which helps that connection to something greater than yourself, whatever that may be for you.
Yeah, I love the way that you put that. It is the breath of the divine. That's really what I wish for people.
Yes,
as they live life, to have the breath of the divine go through everything, all the mundane or seemingly mundane things that you do throughout.
Yes. And to live a life like that, to invite the divine into every day of your life and every action, it's a different experience. It's a different awakening. There's an excitement. There's a fervor. You're going to the grocery store. I'm just kind of making this up because I've done this. And having that connection with the divine as in conversation or prayer or just mindful awareness, and it's like you see things in a different way. Not in a I have found a sale for something, but it's just more you are just present, knowing that the divine is with you, and there's such a comfort and a peace that goes along with that. So extraneous things just don't really even matter because you're mindfully aware of that presence being a part of your life in that moment.
Completely. And one of I give an example of inspired action is our capacity to raise the vibration or to allow another person to get into a more expansive presence with themselves. And in the store, we've all had the cashier who's looking down and kind of dreary, and you say something kind to them and you see them light up. And as they light up, you have provided for them. I mean, that's how powerful we are. You have provided for them an opportunity to see themselves in a more enlightened and expansive way. So really, like you said, in the supermarket, driving down the highway, in team meetings, throughout our work, parenting, whatever we do, our relationship choices, actions, if we bring this expansive perspective, it transforms everything.
Yes, that's beautiful. It's funny that you say that. I mean, I know you were just piggybacking off of the supermarket example that I gave, but I actually talk about that in previous shows about the person at the checkout line. Do you thank them? Do you look them in the eye? Do you thank them for the hard work that they're doing? Just simple things like that is that inspired action of inspiring others, giving other people that breath of the divine by simply acknowledging them. You have a purpose. Thank you for your actions. Thank you for whatever it is that they're doing. And in that allows them to inhale that breath of the divine, if you will, which hopefully will then help them as they move on throughout their day as well.
You've summarized it beautifully. You got it. I love it. And fourth key.
And so, the fourth one. Yeah, let's transition to that.
So the fourth key is faith-filled knowing. And that is really important because at the starting point, but also as you practice the four keys, you need to be open to this miracle that the universe is in dialogue with you.
Yes.
And that you can, there's the law of attraction. There's many ways that it's spoken about, right? But you need to build your faith. And when you start to practice an expansive presence and then listen attentively, receive intuitive guidance, and then act upon it with inspiration, you begin to build your faith that you're not alone, that you're part of a larger interdependent web of life. That's not just a statement. It really is an embodied experience. And your faith grows, that you and the universe have this power to co-create from the spiritual to the material, from the imagination to the manifestation, from the emotional to the physical. And that's when you kind of can embrace miracles and synchronistic events because you become aware of them. They're happening all the time, but now you're aware of them and how they help you and guide you along your day and along your journey.
Well, I think also to piggyback off that, it's now you can see them because sometimes we don't realize that that is a miracle that just happened because our logical mind is so powerful that we override anything that's around us. You can be in a park, or a person can be in a park walking around on their phone and they miss the beauty and the glory and the splendor of the beauty that's around them, not realizing just the miracles that happen everywhere in that moment because we're so focused on the things that don't have value. And I'm not talking about materialistic stuff. I'm talking about the ability to connect the beauty, like your whole platform is, but just to have that awareness, to look around, to be a part of something, helps people really appreciate everything that's happening in their life, which is a form of a miracle as well. And if I could just add something, that there's this also kind of misconception in spirituality. If you dream something, it will just happen, right? It'll just, the law of attraction. I wish.
You just want something. And it took billions of years to produce you and me. We're a celestial event, a celestial occasion of billions of years.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that it's going to take billions of years because we have this one lifetime right now, but things that we can imagine in our thoughts, we need to put the hard work in.
Which is the action. Yes.
The action or the enjoyable work, but the dedication and the patience and the perseverance to allow the material conditions for it to manifest.
Yes. Success is like a bank account. Success is the manifestation of your dream, of your goal. If you don't build that success or you don't deposit success into that manifestation account, if you will, you're never going to be able to withdraw anything from it. So the action part of the awareness of what it is you believe to be true, as you move towards that in your thoughts and your actions, that is when the manifestation happens. But most people want it now without having to work for it. You can't be in the best shape of your life if you're simply watching TV all the time. You have to put in that hard work to be able to have those first fruits, or to have. And
that's because you need the conditions. The way the world works, what you can imagine, you can manifest, but the conditions have to be ready on the material plane. Yes. And sometimes things do manifest instantly. And it's not because it is a miracle for us, but it's really because unknowingly to us, the conditions were ready for it to manifest.
Yes.
But when they're not ready, doesn't mean that we're forsaken, that we're not loved, that the law of attraction doesn't work, that God doesn't care for us or the universe. It doesn't mean that. It means that we need to put the dedication and love and inspired action to create the conditions for our thoughts and our desires to manifest on the material plane.
Beautifully said. Well, Dr. Anna Gatmon, it was such a pleasure having you on my show today. If my listeners like to find out more information about you, to purchase your book, to just follow you and be a part of this membership for Changemakers, where do they find this information online?
So my website is annagatmon.com, ANNAGATMON. And my book is Living a Spiritual Life in the Material World, 4 Keys to Fulfillment and Balance, on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or you can order it from your local bookstore. And I really want to offer your listeners a link to a free gift, which is my Dream Big Playbook with 10 prompts to ground your dreams and then create inspired action to manifest them. So the link to the free gift is annagatmon.com/DBP, which stands for Dream Big Playbook. You can download it for free, and from then on, we'll be communicating through my email, and I'd love to connect with you.
Excellent. What I will do is I will also put your book, one more time, Living a Spiritual Life in a Material World, in the stores at both jamesmillerlifeology.com and lifeology.tv. Go to the stores there in the previous guests section, and they can purchase the book there. I'll link them directly to Amazon. Dr. Gatmon, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today. I really appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure to be on your show and to talk with you.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy, where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise on this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.
AM/FM 247, the best in talk and music all day and every day.